This is going to be a short introduction to the HAS TS, give you some idea what it looks like and possibly what it's capable of doing. Just remember, what works for one person may not work for another. It may be just the way they trade or their money management. So just because one TS looks good doesn't mean it's going to work perfect for you. It all depends on your experience and how you trade it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at the HAS. So what I'm going to do first of all here, I loaded the dashboard. We're not going to get into setting up the dashboard or nothing. Not in this video. This is a short one. I'm just strictly introducing you to the HAS TS. So normally what I do is load on the dashboard, and remember you have to have these particular two scripts in here with the shortcut keys set up for them. Otherwise these two buttons down here will not work. But if you're starting out for the first time, be sure you go through all the videos on the dashboard so you understand how it works. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just open up any chart. And in this case it's the dollar yen, and I'm just going to throw the HAS TS on here. And this is basically how it comes up. For now I'll just click OK and we'll let the defaults populate it. Okay, and as you can see, this is how it comes up. It comes up with the HAS already on there. You do not need the HAS indicator. It is built into the TS. And it also comes up with these two breakout lines on it. The green one is a breakout long. The red is a breakout to the short side. So now we're going to go back to the settings, and we also have our buttons over here. You can run this in the alert mode if you want to. That way it will alert you to a possible trade, and then you can determine whether you want to take the trade or not. Or if you leave the alerts turned off, it will automatically take the trade, depending on how you got your dashboard set up. And then of course we got the undock button here. If you click on that, it will undock this chart if you've got multiple monitors, and you can grab this chart and put it on another monitor if you'd like. And we also have a draw take profit and a draw stop loss line. These are only active when you're in a trade. They do not work if there is no trade present, and they do not work if you have a setting set up in the settings for a take profit or stop loss. And if we got a buy or sell button, if you click one of them, it will simulate a buy being sent or a sell being sent from this TS back to the dashboard, and it will immediately take a buy or sell. Now these only work when there is no trade open on this particular pair. If there is a trade already in progress on here, these do not work. And the close trade, if you're looking at this, I just want to close and get out of it right now, you can hit the close button and it will automatically close the trade down for you. And show trades. In this case, there's no trades to show. What it'll do is show past trades on this particular chart, and it'll put a green line or a red line to show you the trade. Green line means it was a trade that made money. Red line means it was a trade that made no money. Now the show trades looks at your account history down here. And as you can see on this particular demo setup, there is no trades down here. That's why when you click on this, it says no trades, because there are none present in the account history. This does not show open trades that are open on the chart here, presently open. So in this case, there's no trades down here in the account history. And of course, you all know you can adjust this count history by adjusting what you want to look at. So if we go back a ways and click OK, let's see. Or let's try something else here. Show all history. I don't know if I got any history on this. Oh yes, I do, I guess. But they may not show up. Okay, here's one here. You'll notice this must have been a short trade because it entered here and it was a loser because it's a red line. What happened, it went back up and either hit my stop loss, which was there, or I just happened to shut it down. I was just doing some testing, but that's what it'll show. And it says there's two trades. There must be another one here someplace. Sometimes they will hide behind the candles and you won't see them if they're a short one right behind the candle. So then what you have to do is go into the properties and put the chart, take it off in foreground, puts it in the background, and then if there is one that's behind the candle hiding someplace, it will be seen. But in this case it must be back in time yet. Okay, so let's get rid of that, close out our account history, and now we go to our indicator list, this is our demo HAS TS. This is the demo version, which is time limited and also will only work on a demo account. So if you are just trying out the demo version to see if you like it, remember it only works on a demo account and it will expire in time within 30 days. Okay, so now we open this up and here you can see the settings. In the default is false for color change. What that means is it will signal a trade when the color changes, like it does here. When you get a color change, it will signal a trade on this second red candle. You've got to have a closed two candles, in this case a closed blue one and a closed red one, and then on the second candle it would have signaled a short trade. That's what the color change means if you have that set to true. But in this case we have the direction set to true, so whenever it sees, in this case a red candle, it will let you take a trade if you were not using the breakout lines. Say if you were just using the directional of the HAS, it would let you take a trade anytime in here. The default is 28212. That's the settings for the HAS. Breakout line settings are set to true, and there's a buffer at 2. Now what that means is if the price breaks through this red line and gives you 2 pips above it, it will take a long trade. If it breaks below the red line by 2 pips, it will give you a short trade. In this case, because the HAS is only red, you are only allowed to take short trades. So even if this little bit above the green line was 2 pips, you would not enter that trade because we are in the down direction. HAS is saying go short only. So we are only looking for breakouts below this red line. That's using the buffer. If you want the candle to close above or below the line, which gives you a little bit better chance of it being a good trade, you can set this to true and set this to false, and then it will require that the candle closes above the line, and then on the next candle it will take the trade. Or in this case we're looking for a close below the red line, and then it will take the trade on the next candle. That's if you want to use a close candle for a little bit more safety feature, I guess. The default is just 2 pips above or below, depending on the direction the hash is pointing. Okay, we also have a take profit setting, which in this case is set to false, the default, and you can set the number of pips. So once it breaks out, if you want to go over 10, 20, 30 pips, whatever you want to set for take profit, you set that here. Set this to true, set that to whatever you want, and then it will take profit when it hits that point. And when the trade opens, it will put a take profit line on the chart, and then you can watch it. Now that take profit line, you can double click it and move it if you want to. It's a fixed take profit, but you can move it if you double click on it and just drag it to a new point. Same way with the stop loss. If you want to use this auto stop loss, you can set that. In this case it's default 50. You can set it for how many pips you want, and it will put a stop loss line on the chart. And you can also double click that and grab it and move it where you want to. It's a fixed stop loss. It does not trail or anything. It's fixed. Now remember, if you got either one of these turned on, these buttons up here will not work. So if you have the take profit set to true, you cannot use this one. This will not work. If you have the stop loss set to true, the stop loss button will not work. These two buttons only work when you have a live open trade and you have not selected any take profit or stop loss back here. Then you can click on one of these and put it where you want to. Just drag it and put it where you want to. Now we also have a trailing stop loss pip lock setting, which default is true, but you can turn it off. What it does, it has a take profit target and then what it'll trail by. So in this case, if we were to break out to the short side, when we hit 20 pips, which would be down here someplace, would be our target, it would start to trail by 18 pips. Now it will not work or kick in until you hit that first target, which in this case is 20 pips. Then we trail by 18. Then our next target in this case is 25 pips. When it hits 25 pips, then it trails by 15, and it will continue to trail by 15 until you hit 30 pips. Once you hit 30 pips, it will trail by 5 pips and keep on trailing by 5 pips until it actually backs off at 5 pips and hits your stop loss. If you don't want to use any of these, leave this set to false. If you only want to use one set, remember you have to have 2 of these selected with a number. You can't just pick one, because you got to have a target and you got to have a trail. But if you only want to use, say, this first target and trail, then set these other ones to 0. Set that to 0, this to 0, this to 0, this to 0, then it will only use the first one. And you can change these to whatever you want. Miscellaneous settings. If you want to use the opposite signal coming from the hash to get out of a trade, you can do that. So in this case, say you took a long trade right here because of the blue hash, you were in a long trade. When it comes over here and you get the short signal exit, it will exit the trade automatically. Just remember, these are lagging indicators, and as you can see here, if you got in over here and you waited to get out over here, you would have lost quite a bit. So it all depends on what you have your hash set for. In this case, it's a fairly long hash. Use acceleration. Normally you don't use that too much. If you want to use it, you can. What that means is when you get a signal to go, like say you got a signal to go long right here, what the acceleration looks at, it waits until the price exceeds the high of the previous candle, like it does here. Now if you got a signal back here on this candle, this one never exceeds the high, so you would not enter that trade. If you got the signal here, this one here does exceed it a little bit, you would enter the trade. So it kind of gives you an idea when you're going long, the bid or the price action has to exceed the high of the previous candle. If you're going short, the price has to exceed the low of the previous candle. Like in this case here, once it exceeded the low of this candle, you would get in right there. That's all the acceleration does. Alert, if you set that to true, then these following alerts will work. Remember, you have to have these all set up in your MT4 platform in order for them to work. If you don't have them set up in your MT4 settings, they will not work. But if you set this to true, then what it'll do is this button will be yellow. It will light up yellow, and back in the dashboard, instead of setting a red or a green arrow telling you which direction the trade is going, it will send a yellow arrow up or down telling you you have an alert. Then what it gives you the chance to come and look at it, and if you decide you like the trade, like say if you got a signal here to trade short and you get a yellow down arrow back on the dashboard, you can have it set up to send you an email or sound an alarm or a pop-up, whatever you want to have set up. You can come and look at it and say, I like that signal, I'm going to take it. Then all you got to do is click the alert button here, turn it off, and it will take the trade if the signal is still present. So that's what that does. But remember, you got to have these set up back in the dashboard. We're not going to go into that because there's a lot of settings in the dashboard for different brokers out there, or different email clients, whatever you have, but it's under the tools options, and over here under notifications, whatever you want to set up, and under email, whatever you want to set up. You got to have these set up. Now those alerts come from the indicator. The dashboard itself has its own alerts. When it sends a signal, a trade, it sends its own alert, which you also have to have set up over here in the properties for the dashboard. So there'd be two separate sets. Down here, these ones will cover for the dashboard. Right now, the only one that's set up is the alert pop-up, which is the box that pops up and says a buy or a sell has been sent. These do not send just the alerts for you to check. These actually send when something is bought or sold, or something is closed out. That's what these do. The indicator does the alerts. And like I say, in this column here under TS, if you got the alerts turned off, you will get a red or a green arrow signifying a trade. And if you got all the buttons turned on and you have a time selected, or this button selected to turn on the time, it will take the trade if your if your spread is not red at the time. So we're not going to get into settings here right now on this, but there are also a lot of different settings you can set in here. You can trade those charts like single pairs, each one of them. You can trade them as baskets all together, whatever you want to do. Now there is one setting that is over on the blog. If you go over and look at the blog, there was a setting of 216, 220. Now this is going to slow it down quite a bit, as you'll notice now how this hash stretches out, becomes flatter. but this is one that some people have been running and using and have fairly good luck with it. Here is an example of what it did in one day. Started at 16 minutes after 5 o'clock. This is Central Standard Time, 1916. This is when this particular test was started, and it would just run basically with the default settings over in the hash, other than changing it to a 216 to 220. That's the only thing that got changed. And I didn't have anything set over here for take profits or stop losses. And in this time period from 1916 to about 1158, it managed to grab 501 pips, up roughly. This is just a rough, because it's $501. We're trading 0.1 lots, so that's just kind of a rough estimate as far as pips go. Roughly 500 pips if you figure a dollar a pip. And as you can see at this particular time, this was on a Thursday night into Friday. This would have been Friday morning yet, and right after this I closed it down because I don't like to carry trades over the weekend. And as you can see, we were in all the trades except the New Zealand Canadian dollar one. For some reason we never got a signal on that one, but we were in all these other ones. And as you can see, we never had any that hit our stop loss or none that hit our take profit. We were just letting it run wide open, kind of to see where it would go, and this is where it was at before I closed it down. And you can see 27 trades are open. So it's kind of all up to you how you want to set it up and how you want to do it. So hope that helps you. Good luck.